Hey you awesome people, welcome to my channel. This is Sapta, and if you're here for the first time, this is the place where I help designers build and scale their career with tips, suggestions and tutorials. So if you're into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And today's video is a tutorial where I'm going to teach you to animate something really cool using After Effects and Figma. So let's get started right away. And today we are going to animate this. Like this is a 3D card which just flips about its y-axis, and along with that there's also a 3D emoji on top of it which does a 3D flip. It's almost like a ball, like it's very 3D, you see. And of course the reason I'm calling it NFT is just because of the look and feel. This is not an NFT. You'll have to mint it for it to be a real NFT, right? This is right now just has the NFT looks, which is some bright colors, some neon style and all. I'm personally not a big fan of that, but I thought, okay, let's do it because some of you might be fans of that style. So let's get started. So I'll be doing two versions of it. One is this animated version of the emojis. Essentially, you see the eyes and the mouth, everything moving as well. So that's the animated version of it. I'll also show you how to do it with still versions of emojis as well. So let's get started. We'll make some designs in Figma, which I will leave it for you so that you can download, and then rest of it is in After Effects. So let's go to Figma. So here we have it. I have made the cards inside Figma, and these are nothing but shapes with gradients, strokes and inner shadows, outer shadows and so on. That's about it. So I will leave this file in the description. This is going to be a Figma community file so that you can go and directly download this if you want to, or make some more changes to it. Of course you can add tons of other bells and whistles and decorations to this card, but I kept it relatively simpler as well. So there are two cards. One is this green card for the green emoji and a purple card for the yellow emoji. Now this is flipped. Now what I did is I just designed it and I right clicked on it. I did a flip horizontal, and you will know in a while why I have done it, because that's how we are planning to animate it. Okay, and also if you see the gradient that I have done, if I were to just show you how it was before, this is how it was before flipping. Here the gradient that I have used is light on the top left and dark on the bottom right. Here it is just the opposite. It is light on the top right and dark on the bottom left. And it's because while animating in 3D inside After Effects, I'm going to change the position of light so that it feels a little more natural. To mimic that, I have also changed the gradient. So once you have made the card like this, just flip it and keep. By the way, these emojis are just kept on top of each other. I can just remove them beside, and I will just select and do a horizontal flip out here. Okay, so that's it. And at the end, I'll also be using the 3D one. Like I said, these are the 2D emojis which I just downloaded from the internet. So here we have two cards. I'm going to name them green card and purple card. And the background that you see out here also has a dark gradient. We don't have to use it here because we're going to recreate that gradient inside After Effects. So what I'm going to do is I'll just quickly go ahead and export these two. I'll export it in 2x and then reduce the size to 50% in After Effects because it just ensures a little better quality. That's about it. So I'm just going to export it. I've exported and kept it, and I'm also going to export these two emojis, right? So this is green emoji, and this one is yellow emoji. Now this is like a zombie and this is like a happy nerd sort of thing. And if you see the names out here, this is Hyde and this is Jekyll. And actually this is from an old book called The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is nothing but one person who exhibits two different personalities. Like Dr. Jekyll is the good personality and Mr. Hyde is the evil personality. So that's why I have just kept these two. If you want Indian equivalents of that, it's nothing but Aparichit and Ambi. Yes, if you don't know what that is, go Google it. So here we have our assets ready. I'm going to export these two as well, yellow and green emojis. Export at 2x. I could have done it in 3x. Let me do it in 3x because we'll be wrapping it around this sphere inside After Effects. So the bigger, the better this one, right? So there I have it. I have just put it inside, and now let's quickly go to After Effects. So here I am in After Effects, and I will create a new composition, and the new composition is nothing but this size, this entire big frame that you see. This is nothing but 1600 by 1200 is what I had chosen out here. So I'm going to create a new composition inside, bring the cards, animate them, bring the emoji, animate them, done, nothing else, right? Let's click on new composition. I'm going to call it NFT card, and the width of this, let's make it 1600. The height will be 1200. Frame rate 60 is good enough. Duration is set to frames in mind right now, because these days I measure by frames, but in your case it'll be duration, so don't worry about it. 10 seconds or whatever it is, just go ahead and use, because as you know, we can snip, we can cut the composition in middle wherever we want, so it doesn't matter. So mine, it's a big number at the rate of 60 frames per second. It's going to give me easily some I think a couple of minutes or so. I'll just leave it that way, and I will hit OK. There I have my main composition ready. I'll quickly add a background to it. The background is nothing but a rectangle. We have the rectangle tool right here at the top, so you can click and draw, but since we need a rectangle which is exactly going to be the size of the composition, we have a shortcut. So all that you need to do is just go here and double click. And the moment you double click, a rectangle comes, right? And you see it is showing some gradient out here. It's actually picking up the right gradient which I had used when I was trying out this animation before making this tutorial. So it has kind of picked the right one, but don't worry, I'll go ahead and fill it with maybe the default color, and I will show you how to add the gradient as well later. So let's assume this is the default gradient. Now let's go ahead and bring the image assets. Those are nothing but the ones which we had exported from Figma. That is the green card, green emoji, purple card, and yellow emoji. So I will select all 4 of them. I will drag and bring them to After Effects. Alternately, you can also double click on this project panel and then navigate to where your assets are, and then just click open. It's one and the same thing, right? So here we have it. First, I'll bring the green and the purple cards. Okay, so let's bring the purple card and the green card. I will drag and bring them here on top of it. Okay, now of course they are going to be big, because remember we exported them at 2x. I'll select both of them. I'll hit S on my keyboard. It's going to reveal the scale part of it, and it is set to 100%. I'll make it 50%. And since both of them are selected, even though I just entered the number in one of them, both of them got rescaled, right? So that's a good part of it. And shape layer 1, I will just name it as background. I'll hit enter and do a BG, which is nothing but background. I hit enter once again, and we have the layer. Okay, now we'll do one thing at a time. So this is the background color. I'll actually put the green card on top, because that's the one which I want first. And then we will do a 3D flip, and then we will connect it with a purple card and all. You don't have to worry about it. Right now, let's go ahead and hide purple card. Okay, I'll go ahead and hide purple card by clicking on this eye, because I don't need to look at it right now. I'll go ahead and hit U on my keyboard so that it just collapses whatever layers I don't need to see, because I haven't added any keyframes yet. Okay, we'll go ahead and flip it, right? So let's select this green card, and we will do a 3D flip, a 3D rotate, and for that you'll have to make this a 3D layer. And how do you do that? You do it by checking this box out here. So there are different things. This is for motion blur, this is for adjustment layer, and this is for 3D layer, right? So if you click on this, now it has kind of become a 3D layer, right? If you want to see how it happens, so you hit on rotate when it is not 3D. See, right now it is not 3D. If I hit R on my keyboard, it shows the rotation values out here, right? It just shows 1 because it's a 2D layer. Now the moment I make it a 3D layer, when I click here, you see it just starts showing me so many different values, because now it's a 3D thing and I can rotate it over via x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, and so on. In this case, we'll have to do it over y-axis. So if you want to see how it happens, just keep moving these values and you will see what is happening, right? This is exactly what we want essentially, right? So I will just zoom out and we will quickly just start animating it. I'll have some space out here. Okay, so we will not start from t equal to 0, as you know that it's not good to start something right from 0, because when you start playing it, you will need that perception of vision. So I will move it ahead by 10 frames, right? I'll move this handle ahead by 10 frames, and to do that, I will hit Command Shift and then I will hit the right arrow key 3 times. And I will zoom it further. I hit plus on my keyboard to zoom it so that I see what is happening. So I move the handle 30 frames ahead. Okay, so each time when I do Command and Shift and press the right, it moves by 10 frames. So here I have it. I select my card. I click on this stop clock to add one Y rotation keyframe, which is here. Now I'll move ahead by another 20 frames, Command Shift, and I'll hit the right keyboard twice. 1, 2. And I'll add another keyframe here. That's it, right? Now I'm going to change the value in the final keyframe, and I want it to rotate by 180 degrees because I want it to do a half flip and show the back of the card, right? So here I'm going to go and type 180 and hit enter. Okay, now it is rotated. So when I hit 180, it has rotated. So if you want to go and see, you see this is how it is rotating. Perfect, right? We will ease these keyframes later, so don't worry about it right now. I think we are good in this, right? Before we proceed, let us also go ahead and change the color of the background. The gray which we had put, we'll want a gradient background, and we are putting the gradient here because we also want to animate the gradient. We could have used images from Figma and then used an opacity keyframe to do that, but I thought, let's step up a bit. Let's animate the gradient directly. Why rely on Figma so much? So I'll hit U on the keyboard. So here it is. Although I'm not animating, I will just add the gradient here. I'll click the background. It is selected. On top, I'll see fill. Now fill by default will be selected as solid fill, but you click on this. That is when you click on this text, you will have an option to change the fill options, right? So it is no fill, solid color, linear gradient. In our case, we want a linear gradient. I'll click on linear gradient. Okay, when I click on linear gradient, you see it has put some linear gradient. I'll go ahead and hit OK. Okay, and then when you do it, you will see these two blue things appear. This is actually the handle of the gradient of the background. Although it's appearing on top of the card, it has got nothing to do with the card. So even if you hide the card, you will still see this because it's a gradient. And I'll keep the card visible because that's how it's going to be. And since the gradient on the card is along the diagonal, I'll also make this gradient along the diagonal. So this is one handle, I'll pull it and bring it somewhere here. And the other handle, I'll bring it somewhere here, right? See, I'm actually using eye estimation. I mean, I'm not really measuring where it is going, but all that I need is a dark enough gradient, which is a darker version of the color of the card itself, right? So for me, it has picked up the default values because I was working on the exact same project. If you want to change the colors, you can do it this way. While the background is selected, now click on this swatch. Click on this swatch. And then when you do, you will have these handles. So you go here, you can change the color. You go there, you can change the color, right? Make sure you select the bottom ones because those are the ones which are the color stops. The one at the top are opacity stops. Meaning if you want this part to have lesser opacity, that's when you select this and change the opacity. But we don't want that. We want 100% opacity, opaque color. We only want to change the color, right? So we'll click on this and then you can change it to any value. Right? My values are selected, but I'll show you how I do usually. When I want a darker color of one particular selected color, I select that handle. I use this eyedropper tool and pick this color, whatever color I want, and then I darken it. And then I just pull it back like this and I darken it. Right? So that way I ensure that, okay, I have the same color, but a darker version of it. So that's how I do it. You can also do the same. Or if you have done this exercise already inside Figma, just click on this handle and copy and paste the hex code here. It's one and same. Similarly for this one, I have put a very dark color actually, almost black sort of color here. So I'll keep it that way and I'll hit OK. All right, so we have the background and we have the green card rotating over it. Now let's go one step ahead. Now let's also bring the purple card into the picture. Now I'll make the purple card visible. And now I will not animate the purple card. Although we also need to animate the purple card because when it flips, I want the purple card to be seen. But I don't need to do that because I can just make this a child of the green card and it'll follow exactly what the green card is doing. And while it is rotating, I will make the green card invisible after halfway through because that's when the purple starts showing up. Let's go ahead and do that, okay? So first, I'll have to make the purple card also 3D. Otherwise, it cannot follow the 3D rotation of the green card. So while it is selected, I'll go ahead and click on this. So now my purple card has also become a 3D card. You're not able to see because it's behind. So if I just remove the green card, you will see here's the purple card. And I will make the purple card a child of the green card. So for this, I will pick this spiral that you see out here. It's a parent pick. So I'll click on this and a small arrow is going to come up, blue arrow. When I see I've clicked and I'm dragging and I will release it on the green card, which means that purple is now child of the green card. So if you see parent and link, the purple card's parent is green card. You can also do it using the drop down. You don't have to do it all the time. So now what will happen is, you see both of them are visible. When I spin it, you will actually see the purple card. Now you're not able to see it because they are all in 3D plane and they are together, and that's why they're almost like inside each other. Therefore, you're not able to see them. Okay, so if I remove the green card, you'll see you're able to see the purple card. Now, I have not put any keyframe for purple card. It is spinning because the green card is spinning. Even though the green card is not visible, it is still rotating, and because it's a child, the purple card is also rotating. Okay, now in this regard, what we are going to do is, we'll do a very simple trick. Okay, say somewhere halfway through, this around this space is where the green card doesn't need to be seen anymore because it has done its part, right? So we can just chop off the green card, and then we can start showing the purple card, because that's when the purple card needs to be seen. So we'll do it a little later after we have done the easing, because it is not going to be exactly in this position when we ease. So let us go ahead and first ease it, right? I'll hit U on my keyboard to show all the keyframes. Right now we have only 2. I'll open my Motion 2 plugin that I have out here. And this is just for easing. If you don't have this plugin, don't worry. You can always right click and go to keyframe velocity and add the same values. I have discussed this in my older videos. Go ahead and check them if you haven't. So I select the first keyframe and I'll give it an influence of here. I'll give it an influence of around 40%. Okay. And for this one, the ending keyframe, I will give it an influence of around 80%. Yeah, I think this is good enough, right? So now if I let it play, you see, I think it's a quick flip which has happened because of the easing that we have done. I think this looks good. Now we are going to go ahead and do that stripping, what I had said, right? So I'm going to slowly move this handle at a place where it is not seen anymore, right? So this is where it is exactly flipping. So at this place, I'm going to chop off the green card. So here, the way you chop off a layer is bring the handle to that place where you want to chop off, select the layer, press Option and hit the square bracket close. So the square bracket close button on the keyboard, when you hit, it just chops off here. It takes a clearance of one frame, but yeah, that's how it is, right? So it's okay. So here you do, and once you do that, after that you see the purple start showing. Okay, but I'll also do one thing. I'll also chop off the front part of the purple card. So I will keep it in the exact same position, and then I will select the purple one. I'll hit Option, and to chop it from the beginning, I will hit the square bracket open button on the keyboard and I will hit it while the Option is pressed. So now I have chopped the purple from the front, I have chopped the green from the back, so I only get to see what I want to see in the life cycle of that card flip. Okay, so there we have it. I think we just got it. The card is done. Now let's go ahead and bring the emoji into the picture. Now we have the emojis. We will not directly bring them here because we are not going to use it directly. We are going to spherize it. We are going to bring that 3D look to it. For that, I'll create a new composition. So I'll hit N on my keyboard, and this one has to be, a rectangular sort of a composition because it's going to wrap around a sphere. Now, what is the exact dimension of the rectangle? Doesn't quite matter. We just need a rectangle long enough. You can actually do a trial and error to figure out how big a rectangle you want, but I think I identified the value, so I'll use a value of 1080 height. And the width will be, I'll take around 2400, and everything else I'll just keep it same, doesn't quite matter. And I will name it emoji. I'll hit enter. Now this is where my emoji will sit. I'll take just the emoji, yellow emoji. I think it's cute. I'll just put it here. I will scale it down a bit. Right? I'm not putting any keyframes. I'm just scaling it down, reducing the size. Okay, I'm not animating the size of it at all. So I'll use eye estimation. I'll maybe keep it something like this. And the next thing is, I will fill the color of the emoji to the background. For that, I will use a rectangle. Again, I'll do the same thing. I will double click on this rectangle tool so that I have this. I'll bring it to the bottom. I'll click and drag and put it under the emoji. And this time, of course, I'll need a solid color. So I'll click on fill and hit solid color, hit OK. And I will change the color. I'll open this, use the eyedropper tool and pick this yellow. Okay, this is what we need. Okay, this is what we need. Now we are done with this emoji. I'll go to the NFT card here. Okay, I put the yellow one, right? Okay, doesn't matter. We'll bring the green one also later. So let's see it here. We will place our emoji. Let's bring the emoji layer and put it on top of it. It looks like this weird. Don't worry, nothing to worry. Now we are going to spearize it simply. It's very easy. It's an inbuilt feature of After Effects. Go to Effects and Presets. In Effects and Presets, search for Sphere, S-P-H-E-R-E. Okay, and you will see something called CC Sphere. That's what we need to use. So select that CC Sphere, click and drag it on your emoji layer. You see what happened? The moment I clicked and dragged, I'll show it once again, right? The moment I clicked and dragged and brought it here, it became a sphere, as simple as that, right? But we'll have to do some more adjustments to make it work like the way we want. So this is essentially some amount of 3D features which After Effects has built in inside it. Now your entire emoji layer, it's still of the same dimension, but it has reduced to this sphere, right? So first and foremost, I'll just go and place it where I wanted it to, and I'll also maybe check out the sizes. Okay, maybe the size can be 200, or shall I make it slightly bigger? Let's make it 250. Actually 200 is fine, I guess. I'll just keep it 200. Here CC Sphere, you'll start seeing those in the effects control panel. I can select the radius. I can do a whole lot of things. I can change the lighting, I can change the shading. We'll do all of them, but I'm just showing you what all is possible out here, right? And the best part that we are going to do is rotation right here. Now mind it, it's not the same rotation that you do here. When you select a layer on your layer panel and you hit R, you get one rotation, right? Now if you rotate it, you'll see it is rotating in the weird way. Now even if you make it 3D and then you rotate it, it'll still rotate in a weird way. This is not what you want. So I'll just go ahead. I didn't even make this layer into a 3D layer. If you see, the emoji layer is still a 2D layer. It's not a 3D layer. I'm using effects and presets to do this rotation. So it's an add-on on top of it. So to rotate this like the way you want, we'll have to use this rotation. It's a different rotation, but it'll start appearing here the moment you have, added a keyframe, right? So to just rotate it, what we'll do is we'll just bring it here and just go to rotation. And here inside also you'll have rotation X, rotation Y, and rotation Z. We'll again do a rotation Y here. You see what's happening? The moment you spin it, it's actually rotating like a ball. Okay, this is exactly what we want. So let's go ahead and do it, right? So while my handle is here, because while the card is rotating, I also want the emoji to rotate, right? So let it be here, and I will click on this clock to add a Y rotation keyframe. Now the keyframe is added here. To see that keyframe, you'll have to hit U. When I hit U, you see it has actually figured out it's a CC Sphere. Y rotation keyframe is added here, right? Now I come back here. I'll add one more keyframe towards the end at the same place. I'll hit this to add a keyframe. I will rotate it by 180 degrees. Okay, so it's rotating in the opposite direction. So what I'll do is I'll make it minus 180 degrees. Okay, minus 180 degrees. Actually, what I feel is, the emoji can do a complete rotation. What I'll do is I'll just make it 0 and I'll make it minus 1, which is nothing but minus 360. Minus 360. The moment I do it and I hit enter, you will see this becoming minus 1, because one complete rotation is 360 degrees. So what's happening right now is the emoji is rotating more and it just goes and settles at the same place. Okay, so this is what we want. So now that we have the animation, I'll go and add the same values of easing to these keyframes as well. So I'll select the starting keyframe, go to my Motion 2 plugin and add a 40, and to the ending keyframe, I'll add 80. If you want to know how this thing works, I've explained in my past video. I will leave it linked in the description and you can have a look. And if you don't have this plugin, don't worry, you can always right click and go to keyframe velocity. You will see it just adds the same values here. This is nothing but the influence of the outgoing velocity, and this is nothing but the influence of the incoming velocity. Okay, so you see incoming velocity influences 80%, and there it was 40%, which is nothing but this 80 and this 40. This is just a shortcut way of doing it, right? This is an extra plugin which After Effects doesn't come in built with. Check out my older videos, you will know what it is. All right, so here I am. It is spinning in the exact same way. Okay, now we just need to do a couple of more things and then we are done, right? We also want this emoji to change when it spins, right? I want a different emoji here and I want a different emoji here. So for that, I will just go to the first part here and I'll go inside the emoji. See, my handle is somewhere here, which is at around 30 frames if you see it. So I will double click on emoji and it's already in 30 frames here. If I zoom in here, I just need to change this to something else. Okay, so I'll go to my project panel. I'll bring my green emoji here. Okay, this is slightly bigger. I'll make it slightly smaller. Okay, now exactly what we had done, we had chopped these layers, you remember? So at around this point when it spins, see, the moment I brought the green one, you start seeing the green one, right? Whatever you put inside this, since the entire layer is kind of getting wrapped over that sphere, whatever you put inside this composition will start reflecting inside the sphere. So you see, already it's kind of working, you see, right? It's already kind of working. Okay, now it has replaced, it's completely like covered the other one. That's why you're not able to see, right? What we need to do is we need to chop it. So essentially when, you know, things go beyond this point, maybe somewhere here itself, I would want the other emoji to start showing up, which is at frame number 37. So I'll go back to emoji. While I'm still at frame number 37, I will hide the green emoji, right? So for that, I will hit option and close square bracket. In the same way, I will make the yellow emoji appear after this. I'll click the yellow emoji, option, square bracket, open. Exactly what I had done to the card. So here it is just going to change like this, but then when you see it here, you see this is, so while it is somewhere here in middle, that swapping is happening. Since these are on the two extreme ends, you don't see it. So, you know, you're able to see the differences. You know, you can even go one step ahead and change the color of the background. You can add an animation to the background color so that when it is in this state, the background is green, and when it goes to that other one, the background becomes yellow, so that the color of the entire ball also changes, right? But I'm not going to get there because I want to show you the animated version of the emoji, which is a much more exciting part of it, right? All right, so let's go ahead and do it. And at any point of time, if you feel that, you know, the emoji feels a little distorted, like in this case, you can always play around with the scale. For example, if you feel that this is too much distorted, just go here, select this emoji and reduce the size of it a bit, right? And then you see the distortion is reduced. So, you know, you can play around with the optimum value, whatever you feel looks good to you. And then, yeah, that's how you can just make it work. Okay, so there we have it ready. I have not animated the background yet, but before that, I want to try out the animated emojis, which is going to make it much more exciting. Now, I can sit and animate these emojis myself, but that's going to take some time and this tutorial is going to get much longer. So what I will do is I will use a plugin which has some beautiful packs included in already. It's called emojis. And it's an external plugin. You'll have to install it. I will keep the link in the description. You will have just have a look at it. So go to Window and you will find emojis Pack Manager 4. It has also got a few other tools like Copy Ease, Shifter and all, but I'm just going to use the Pack Manager right now. So I'll click on Pack Manager 4 and it opens. And you see I was just playing around with the same thing. So when you open it for the first time, this is how you will see it. Now this has got tons and tons of effects. I see this also has an NFT construction. Okay, it's new. I'll have to check what that is. It has tons of other effects, right? And you can just open and see. If you go to newspaper, see this is, you know, some zooming into a newspaper. If you want to emphasize on certain text, if you're making a video, you can use this, or headlines or front pages. These are all about newspaper. That's a newspaper pack, right? Similarly, you can go to cartoon, comic. It's downloading anyways. So likewise, there are so many other. There's something called broken glass, where you can put a text and use this broken glass effects directly into your composition, right? So just go and have a look. Some of these packs are free and some of these packs are paid. Even when I'm on Premiere Pro and I'm editing one of these videos, I can use various effects that are present. For example, if I'm talking about some event in the remote past, I can choose to give the clip a vintage look. The old film constructor pack is perfect for that. It has tons of effects under dust and scratches, burns, grains and frames that can instantly make your clip appear old. emojis is also great for transitions. I often use these B-rolls clips in my videos and reels. I can add a transition effect that essentially distracts the viewer from the hard cut switch between the videos. I particularly like the light swipe transition pack. All I have to do is drag and drop the effect that I like, and voila, I have this cool and futuristic transition applied to my video. And if you're thinking of getting a premium subscription of AE Juice, use the code SAPTA10 to get a flat 10% discount on all AE Juice products. So it's a nice nifty thing, it saves you a lot of time, but what I'm interested right now is emoji pack. There's a beautiful emoji pack. So if I click search for emoji, animated emoji, you will see these are the different kinds of emojis that it already has. See, food, gadgets, everything, but I'm looking for emoji right now. The animated emoji pack has all of them. And I will use the same kind of emojis, right? One is, maybe this one, emoji nerd, like I had shown on the composition. And then to balance it, something a little more evil zombie-like, which is maybe this, where the eye is popping out. Okay, so let's do it. Let's first bring this one, right? I will just, to insert it, all that you need to do is just click on it and click import, or you can just click and drag. Either of them works. I'll just click on this and hit import, and it is going to get imported. You see, now it got imported. I'll just keep the AE Juice aside. It got imported, and this is nothing but my emoji zombie. Emoji zombie is what it has come, and along with that, you also see this folder appearing here. This folder is nothing but AE Juice, which is nothing but all the source files of this. So when you open it, it says do not edit. Although I get tempted to edit at times, I'm not going to do it because they've asked us not to do. Something may actually break inside, right? So we have our zombie, and if you see how it works, so here, see, the zombie thing kind of got added. So if you just go ahead and hit play, yeah, this animation is already inbuilt, right? All that I need to do is just select it and this emoji zombie, hit scale and scale it appropriately. Scale it appropriately. Okay, and now I don't need this green and the yellow static emojis because I think I'll make the animated one only. Now that you know how to make the static one, I will just delete these two or keep it somewhere here. I'll just delete these two, and I have my emoji, and I will start it from the beginning, of course. So this is where it starts, right? And I'll also match the color of this yellow with the color of this emoji. There's a slight difference in it. So I'll go to this is also a background color. I'll name it background. So I'll select the background, go to the color, and use this eyedropper to pick this yellow color so that, it feels like one seamless thing. And that's it. You don't have to do anything. You come to an NFT card and you see this already. All your 3D spins that you have done is already happening, plus this animation inside is also happening, right? So both of these are happening together. So I think that's the great part. You put anything inside this, it's going to get wrapped over this spear, right? But I also see this yellow thing appearing out here. So I'm going to resize it a little more. I'm going to make it slightly bigger so that, this part doesn't show up. Okay. I'll also make sure that this is center aligned. I'll use the align tool and click on this to ensure that it's exactly at the center. And still the yellow part is showing up. I'll just make it slightly bigger, maybe 2 more percentage. It is still there. Let's see, let's make it 60. Okay, let's make it 658. So what I'll do is I'll just move it slightly to the left side. I'll move it slightly to the left side and make it 60%. I feel that way we can get away. Yeah, I think this is pretty much it. Although I see a bit of yellow here, doesn't matter. Maybe I will make it slightly bigger here, maybe 62%. And yeah, I think this is what I like. It looks like a perfect ball. Okay, it looks like a perfect ball. This is what I wanted. And now I'm going to go and swap the other emoji as well. Now we have only one emoji. I'll go back to my emoji composition, which is this. Now I'll look for that cute nerd one that I was talking about. Oh, this is also nice actually. No, but I think I like the one with the glasses, this one. So I'm going to click on this and hit import and wait for that to get imported. Yes, this got imported, and I'm going to close this AE Juice for now, right now. I mean, see, it's so simple, right? Since everything is inside the composition, I can come to this and just swap it with any other emoji that I want, and I can just have, different variations of the same cards that I'm making. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And this is another emoji that I have put out here, right? And this also I will scale a bit. This might need a different kind of scaling because both of them are different. And since it already has a yellow background, I may not need to worry about that other thing showing up. So I'll again make sure it's at the center. And I'll do the same thing, whenever it kind of switches that part, right? Somewhere here, I'm going to chop the green off and chop the yellow off, right? So that's around at 37. So I'm here at 37 frames. The emoji nerd needs to start showing up only after this. I'll hit Option and square bracket open, and I'll select the emoji zombie. I'll hit Option, I'll press Option and hit square bracket close. Okay, so this way, it is just swapping directly here. But when you see it in this animation, it is going to have this 3D spin, and you see the new emoji appearing here. Right? Perfect. I think we have it in place. And now if you want, you can just keep playing around with how big you want it. And based on that, it's going to wrap around the sphere. So we have our basic structure ready. It's animating just the way we want it. And now we'll just add some lighting and some shading and we are done. I'll go ahead and hit U in the keyboard once again so that it just removes anything unwanted, if any. And now we will play around with the lighting of this. Okay. Now, as I said, I want to animate the lighting also. So while it is here, I want the light to be falling from top left because that's how I've set my gradient and everything. And when it goes to this, I want the light to be shining from the top right? So that way, this shadow that you see will come here. And in this case, the shadow will remain here and so on, right? So let's play around with that. So I'll go to lighting. There are some things, lots of things that you see out here. But before that, let's go to shading and see. Okay. So in shading, there are certain values which are already set and you can animate all of them. All of them are animatable, but we won't be animating shading. So maybe ambient, I'll leave it 10. Diffuse is this. Specular, I think I'll add a little more. Specular is nothing but, that bright shine that you see, that is specular. So I'll add around 40 of specular. Roughness, again, decides how the specular will behave here, right? Not sure if you're able to see it. I'm going to make it 0.08. Right? See, honestly, there are no right and wrong values here. You just need to see what is working for you. Okay, just play around, whatever style you like, that just works. So I'll close the shading. I'll go to lighting. Lighting intensity, there's a lighting color. Right now it's a white light. So what I'll do is I'll make it slightly yellow. Yeah, I think this is the kind of color. Slight yellow light is what I will use. Okay, now here we'll do a couple of things. Light direction, I will keep it like this for this one, right? So around minus 45 degrees. Okay, so that the light is coming from top left, I said, remember? Light height is another thing that you can play around with. Light height determines where exactly the light is. So you can even animate light height and create another dramatic effect if you want to. Right? So imagine a solar eclipse and this is how the sun is coming. But anyways, we are not doing that. So I will keep it something like this, around 50 is what I like. This dramatic shadow is nice. Okay. And light intensity also you can play around with. Okay. So just leave it here. I think I will do one more thing. I want to use one curve to it. Curve is nothing but, it's a Photoshop thing, but you can add a curve to anything on After Effects as well and make some quick adjustments. So what I'll do is I'll search for curves here in Effects and Preset, curves, and I'll click this curves, click and drag it here and drop it here. Curves is nothing but this, this is a very familiar thing if you use Photoshop or any other photo editing tools, right? So I'm going to create a small S here. Shadows are slightly darker maybe, and the highlights are slightly brighter, right? So this is where I'm going to keep it make it something like this, and that's it. This is an optional step. If you don't want to do, don't do it. It's okay, right? Now we'll do one more thing. We'll add a shadow. So if light is shining from this side, there has to be a drop shadow also. Although we have an inner shadow which is darkening this part of the sphere, but it also needs to cast a shadow on the card. So let's do that. I will select the emoji. See, everything is happening in this layer, right? And I will go to Effects and go to Perspective. I'll add a drop shadow. Now drop shadow also, everything starts appearing in the effects controls for any layer, right? So here, there are certain values, distance, softness, color, direction, everything, right? So I'll increase the distance. If you see, when you increase the distance, this is where it starts coming. I think this angle is perfect, plus 135. It is exactly opposite to minus 45. So if light is coming from this direction, shadow has to be casted here, right? Softness, let us increase it, right? And we will see how much more soft we want. I think distance can be a little more because I'm making it dramatic. It's a zombie after all, right? So the softness can be a little more, maybe 100. Let's try. Yeah, I think 100 is good. And opacity I'll increase actually, right? Or is it fine? I'll make the softness, let's try 200. The 200 is too much. I'll try 130 maybe. I think 130 is good, and I'll make it 60%. Okay. So the final values that I have used is, you see, I'm looking for a dramatic look out here. See, NFT is all about, NFT looks rather, right? So not NFT, is all about how you exaggerate some of those things. So I've exaggerated it. It's a pretty dark shadow, 60% opacity, direction is plus 135, which is opposite to the light direction. Distance is around 50 or 52, I'll make it 50, round figure. Softness is 130, only shadow, don't worry about it, right? So I have added a shadow. Okay. Now in this one, when it comes here, I'll have to animate both the light and the shadow. Like I said, I want the light direction to change. So when it comes here, and I want the light direction to change. Let's do that first, right? So I'll open inside CC Sphere, lighting, and I will click on light direction. You see my handle is still in the first keyframe, in the same position where I've added all the first keyframes. I'll click light direction. One keyframe got added here. If you want to see the keyframe, just hit U in your keyboard maybe twice and you start seeing it. See, inside CC Sphere, previously you only had rotation Y, now you also have a light direction. Here it is. Now move the handle to the last position. Here, we will change it to the other way. I want the light to come from top right. So just use this and bring it somewhere here. Yeah, you see what is happening? This is nothing but, if you want to use the exact numbers, it should be plus 45, right? So here I have it, right? So there, you see when you do it, you see the light moving? Now that we have animated it, the light is also moving along with that. Now if the light moves, so should the shadow. So we'll have to do the exact thing for the shadow also. So I'll close this CC Sphere. Inside drop shadow, also I'm going to animate the direction. So I'll click this, and now a keyframe is added. If you want to see this keyframe here, just hit, yes, you got it, U. So now you see drop shadow also has a keyframe, which is nothing but direction. Now we'll go all the way to the end, and now we'll do the exact same thing, right? So if light is coming from this direction, your shadow should not be here, but here. So we will just use this handle and move it somewhere here. If you want the exact value, it's going to be 225. Okay, hit enter. You see, now things are falling in place. It feels like world-like. Here you have a light, that's why here you have a shadow. Similarly, when you just move it like this, here you have the light, and that's why here you have the shadow. You see, things are all falling in place, right? Awesome. It's already looking very good, right? See, and some of these things, like I said, right, you can play around with the intensity and all. And some of you might be feeling, hey, it is a little too dark. Sure, go ahead and, make it lighter. But right now, I think I'm kind of liking this dark look. But what I feel like doing is maybe, tweak these curves a little more, right? Tweak these curves a little more so that, the top part is also as bright as dark the bottom part is. I'll just keep it like this. See, adjusting this also adjusts the shadow a bit, but I still want to keep it sufficiently dark. Okay, I think I like it. So you play around and see which values work for you. These values are right now working well for me. Okay, so I'll just close this and I'll hit U once again to reveal all the keyframes. Now I'll just add the same easing to all of them. I'll select these two set of keyframes, and if you remember, we were using 40 and 80. So for the starting keyframes, I'll add an influence of outgoing velocity of 40%, and for these two ending keyframes, influence of incoming velocity will be 80%. So I have added the same values, right? Now if I go back, yes, it is working, right? I think it is working. I really like right after this flip happens, this guy, kind of blinks his eyes. I think it's very cute. It's very nice, right? Now only one more thing is left, which is to animate the background gradient also. Let's go ahead and do that. So same thing. So here we have background. So if you open it, right, go to contents, inside rectangle, you'll see something called gradient fill. So when you click on gradient fill, there are things that you can animate: start point, end point, colors, and all of them, right? So start point, end point is nothing but the points where the gradients start. So what we are doing here right now is we are essentially animating this and this. So we want to add 3 keyframes here. One is the starting point, one is the ending point, and mind it, my handle is still in the starting position. I put it here. So I'll add a keyframe for start point, endpoint, and colors, because I'm also changing the color to shades of purple, right? So I'll add these keyframes, hit U twice actually, so that only these keyframes are visible, right? So there I go. Now I come here to the end. Here I'll make a couple of changes. First of all, I'll change the direction, right? I'll change the direction of it. For that, if I just click on this and see my handle is here, and since my keyframes are added, if I move this handle manually, the gradient will animate. Now the thing is, if you just select the background layer, you'll not see this handle. So you're like, hey, how the hell do I do it, right? So you can just open it and you can play around with these values. You still don't see it though. To see the handle, you'll have to click on gradient fill. Okay, yeah, that's a weird thing in After Effects. Well, not a weird thing. I think that's how the tool is meant to be. It's a professional tool after all. So you click on this gradient fill drop down, you start seeing these handles. And while this timeline handle is in the ending position, I will just move this here and I will move this here. Remember I said light is now coming from top right, and that's why the gradient will be in this direction. And now I think you know why I had swapped this card. I had flipped this, remember, because it is already showing up after one 3D flip. That's why I had already flipped it once, so that flip plus flip makes it look straight. Okay, so that's how it is. So here if you see the direction of the gradient is already animating because I have animated the start and the end points. Okay, mind it, you'll have to put both start and end points, because the start as well as end points are moving. This is moving from left to right, this is moving from right to left. So you'll have to do it for both. Okay, now for the ending point, we will just go ahead and edit the gradient. So I'll click on edit gradient, same color picker which we had used before comes up. So here, this one is nothing but this, and we'll use the same technique that we did before. I'll pick this purple color, make it darker, right? Now I'll take the bottom one, I will use the color picker again, pick this color and make it darker. Almost black if you remember, almost black. I also feel this can be more dark, I'll just click on this, make it a little more dark. Done. I will just click OK. And now when I see, you see what's happening? The color is animating, so is the direction, right? Now we'll also use the same set of easing values for this. So I'll select this first set of keyframes at 40, the last set of keyframes at 80. Okay, we are actually done. I'll hit U on my keyboard twice to reveal only the keyframes which matter to me. If I just play it, you see what's happening. Your background, card, emoji, everything is animating. Okay, now of course we can do a flip of it also, like when this happens and then we add another set of keyframes which just goes back. We'll do that, but before that I'll add a bit of spice to it, right? What I want is when this flip happens, everything is happening together, everything is starting together, everything is ending together, right? I don't want that to happen. What I want is, I want the sphere, that is the emoji, to start rotating a little early and keep rotating a little more beyond this. So all that I need to do is just take this right Y rotation while I'm here. I will move back my handle by, let's see, maybe 20. I'll press Command Shift and left keyboard, 10, and okay, let's do 10 only, right? I moved it back by 10, and this rotation keyframe, I'm going to bring it back. Okay, so now what happens is it starts rotating a little early, if you see what's happening, and then the card rotates. Okay, same thing I'll do in the back also, rotation, and I will go ahead by another 10 frames, Command Shift, and I'll hit the right keyboard, and this I will bring it to the end. Okay, so now what is happening is there is a bit of a lag in the way this is spinning. Okay, and to balance that, I will do one more thing. I will change the easing values of only these. For all of them, we had used 40 and 80, but here we'll use some more radical value, right? What I'll do is, the starting one, I'll make it 80. Yeah, it is slightly, you'll see the difference. It starts slow, then goes very fast, and then ends very slow again. Similarly, for the ending, which was 80, I'll make it 100. Okay, let's see how it looks. Okay, you see, while the card is flipping, the spinning becomes very fast. Okay, it is. And then, it just ends slow again. If you want to just exaggerate this effect, you can just move them even more. Okay, you can move them even more, and then you will see an exaggerated version of that effect. I think for now, I like this. the offset is making it much more livelier than what it was before. Okay, the offset as in, it taking a little longer to spin. Yeah, I think this is nice. I like this. Okay, awesome. So we are actually done. Now we will just add one more thing, which is nothing but a shadow at the bottom, so that it just appears like it's a real physical object. Of course, you can take the card and add a drop shadow to it, but I'll not do that. I'll rather want it like a 3D object, and a light, since it's coming from top and all, I'll put a shadow at the bottom here. Okay, so I'll add a shadow using a ellipse at the bottom, right? So where is the ellipse tool? Ellipse is nothing but circle. It's nothing but it's present in the same tool as rectangle. So when you click by default, it becomes a rectangle. But when you click and hold, you see this menu. And that's when you can pick up this ellipse tool, right? So now I have the ellipse tool, and I will just go ahead and draw a simple ellipse under it. Okay, don't worry about how perfect it is. Okay, just draw some shape. Okay, and of course, since it's a shadow, it needs to be black. I'll click OK, and now I will blur it, because that's the whole point of a shadow, right? So I'll go to effect, and I'll go to blur and sharpen, and then there's a thing called Gaussian blur, which is like the default blur. So click Gaussian blur and give it a large value. Let's see, maybe 100. Okay, you see these things are getting cut. It's because of one single thing, which is repeat edge pixels, right? Because of which it's becoming ugly like this. Is not how it's supposed to be. Just uncheck this, and you have the shadow just like you want. And now if you feel that you want to play around with the size of the ellipse, feel free to do it. You want to make it slightly wider, slightly narrower, do all those things here if you want to, right? So I'll keep it. Of course, the shadow has to be at the last layer. It needs to be under my cards, right? So I will take this is my shadow layer. I'll put it between the card and the layer. So this is nothing but my shadow. So here I have it. And if you want, you can also play around with the opacity of it. You feel that, hey, 100% is probably a little too much, I'll make it 80%. Go ahead and do it, right? But I think for me, the look that I'm looking at, 100% works just fine. Okay, but now that we have added the shadow, I think there's one more thing. I feel it can be a little more blurred. I made it 100. I'll make it 150. Let's see. Yeah, I think 150 is better. It's just more blended. Okay, I'll keep it 150. Now I'll do one thing, which is if I show the keyframes once again, while the card is moving, right, the shadow should also reduce, because you see the width of the card is reducing. So what I'll do is, just for the sake of it, nobody's going to see it, but still I'm going to see it. So I'll add a scale to it. So in shadow, I'll hit S on my keyboard, and I'll uncheck this. I'll uncheck this. Constraint proportion, I'll uncheck. I'll add a keyframe in the initial. I'll go all the way to the end. And now what I'll do is, whatever the value is, it shows 105.8 because we had manually adjusted here. Remember when I was just, doing this, that's why it is 105 and some weird number. Okay, so doesn't matter. Don't worry about it at all. Whatever the number is, just put a minus in front of it and hit enter. Okay, what it does is, because if it's going from plus to minus, there will be a state when it becomes 0. That's when it becomes smaller, and then it again grows back. And that's exactly what is happening to our card. It is getting narrower because it's spinning, and then it goes to full size again. That's it. And we'll use the same values that we have used for all of them. But mind it, not this 80 and 100, which we had used for the sphere, but the same old values, which is 40 and 80. Okay. So here it's 40 for the starting and 80 for the ending. So there we also have the shadow animating. There we have it. Now we just have to copy the keyframes and paste it once again for it to work, right? So let's quickly do it. So maybe here, somewhere here, I'm just using eye estimation. I want it to flip again. If I want it to flip again, so all these keyframes that you see, I will just copy them. I'll just select these two, Command C, Command V, and this also I'll do a Command C, Command V. This also Command C, Command V. All the final keyframes I'm just pasting once again, and I'll move ahead by another 20 pixel, Command Shift, right keyboard twice, and then now I'll paste all the initial keyframes. I'll copy this, paste, copy this, paste, copy, paste. I'll just quickly copy them. So everything is working fine, just that the card's color is not changing. It's because, we had chopped this green card here, right? And once you're going back, you also need to start seeing the green card again. So So this is where the transition is kind of happening. So while it is here, what I need is I need to chop purple card and start showing the green card, which means I need another instance of the green card. So what I'll do is I will just make a copy of this green card, Command D. So I have a copy. I'll show the keyframes, and you know what? I don't need these keyframes here because I'll make this new green card a child of the old green card. Okay, and now the same motion is going to just work. So I'll just bring it here at this end and I will hide the purple card. I'll hide the purple card, and here when you're spinning, you actually see the way it is happening. Also, we'll have to do the same thing for the emoji as well. So somewhere here, we'll just go inside. I need to bring back my zombie emoji again. So I'll make a copy of the zombie emoji, bring it here, and I will hide the nerd emoji, right? So if I do that, you will see the emoji is also changing. Okay, so it's like whatever you have done in the past, you're just reversing the same thing, right? So here we were showing the green card, we chopped it, and then we showed the purple card, and now that we are going back, we are again showing the green card. And since this green card had chopped, I cannot bring back the green card. I had to make a new layer of it, right? And when we make when we bring another instance of this green card, it also needs to spin just like the way it is. And that's why we also make this a child of the green card, because you want all the 3D rotations to be in sync. That's why we removed all the extra keyframes, all the keyframes that this one had, and we made this green card, I'll call it the new green card, a child of the main green card. So all the motion is done by this keyframe inside the main green card, which is only green card, and the purple card and the new green card is everything is kind of following course. Okay, so there you have it. Now maybe you can just swap this easings also, because we are just copied and pasted, so it also copies and pastes the easing values. So all that you need to do is just select all of them, click 40, select all the ending ones, click 80, and whatever effect you had given to the emoji, right, that is the offset, we can do it here as well. So go back by 10 pixels, Command Shift back, and take this keyframe back. Similarly here, just the rotation keyframe, Command Shift right, and bring this keyframe here, so that the same effect that we had got, where it just offsets a little early, it just happens here as well. So it just keeps flipping. That's it. And we can add some blur, motion blur if you want. So just turn on motion blur for the cards and the emoji layer. That's it. Here, this one, just check this, and green, all these cards, the new green card and the purple card, just turn on this motion blur, and you'll see some kind of motion blur which will just make it feel a little natural. That's it. We will just chop this keyframe and then we are done. I'll just chop it here because this is where it ends. I'll bring the handle here and hit N on my keyboard. So there you have it. We have made an NFT style 3D rotation inside After Effects. I hope you like this tutorial. Please follow me for more, and if you try this out and you post it on social media, don't forget to tag me. I would love to see what you make. This is Sapta signing off.